is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files. I'm your host, Nick. I'm joined by my trusty producer and sidekick, Rochelle.
Hello.
And today we have my sister Maria back with us to help answer some questions about dating and life.
Hello.
As well as give us some more health and wellness tips. A lot of people seem to enjoy Maria on last time.
Oh yeah, people love.
We thought
when
we'd make it a bit of
yeah.
a thing.
It's nice to have the married woman with child perspective.
Yeah, that's...
And who's an expert, if I do say so myself, on some health and wellness. Maria is also part of the Natural Habits family. In terms of, well, not in terms of anything. She has helped me co-found the company. And Maria, the holistic nutritionist that she is, brings a lot of expertise in wellness. We thought it would be fun to, because of the new year, to talk about, a lot of people are setting goals, right? And part of those goals always include diets. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Always.
Sometimes,
it's like usually number one.
Number one, right? And then
working out.
Here's a
Yeah.
challenge, though, is especially if you're in a relationship of any kind and you develop these goals about different. Oh, I'm going to change the way I eat. That could be tough when you're in a relationship and they don't set the same goals.
Or even if you're dating.
Yeah, that could be a really challenge. So Maria and I are going to talk about that right after this quick break. Athletic greens, my athletic greens routine now.
Athletic greens routine.
Does that kind of rhyme?
Yeah, what is it?
I wake up and I have a glass of athletic greens.
Before you work out or after?
Before.
It's
the first thing I do.
First thing you do, that's amazing.
First thing I do, I wake up, I kind of like pour some water and just gulp, 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 put on some running shoes, go work out. Gulp, 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 gulp.
Aww. Why do you love it?
Well, I used to do a smoothie every morning.
Yeah, I know.
And blend vegetables. And not that that's bad or anything, but it's easier with athletic greens. I think it's
easier.
much more affordable than buying vegetables every morning.
Yeah.
And it gets me pretty much the same nutrients.
It probably gets you a lot more.
Plus the probiotics
There's
and prebiotics.
75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients.
Yeah. So
whole fruits and
it's
vegetables.
just easier and probably healthier, and
Yeah.
it tastes really good.
I'm so glad.
I enjoy the taste,
Yeah.
and it's super easy.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah.
And whether you're just kind of anyone,
Yeah.
or if you are an athlete training, it's very
Yeah.
helpful for you. So I can't recommend it enough. I mean, I truly love it.
I know. You should be their official spokesperson.
Right? Come on, athletic greens. Anyways, whether you're taking small steps towards a healthier lifestyle or you're an athlete pushing for better performances, Athletic Greens takes the guesswork out of everyday good health. I know it has for me.
And me too.
So why not just try it? Jump over to athleticgreens.com/VIALL and claim my special offer today. 20 free travel packs valued at $79 with your first purchase. That's athleticgreens.com/VIALL. Figs.
Gone are the days of scratchy, uncomfortable scrubs.
That's right. And looking a little sloppy. Gone are the days of looking a little
Yes.
sloppy in scrubs. Like,
Yes.
oh, I'm a doctor. I don't have to dress up.
I got my mom figs. My mom is a nurse practitioner, neonatal. She works with little tiny babies. Figs for Christmas, and she says she gets compliments every single day.
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of people, a lot of healthcare professionals, dated a few healthcare professionals.
I'm sure
They're
you
wearing
have.
scrubs. I've gifted some figs. You know, hey, here you go. I'm not going to be wearing these. Do you want to take them home?
Right.
But
But you have the joggers, the figs joggers.
Yeah.
When do you wear those?
when I'm lounging around the house.
Yeah, they're really
Or when I go
comfortable.
grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So I look like a doctor. It's really great. They're super stylish and comfortable and wonderful
Yeah.
and feel great on my skin.
Okay.
Everyone loves them. Yeah. So whether you are one of the awesome humans that works in healthcare or someone that wants to say thanks to those deserving folks, Figs is going to make that easy by providing you with 15% off your first purchase by using my code VIALL. Get ready to love your scrubs. Head to wearfigs.com. That is WEARFIGS.com and enter my code VIALL at checkout.
I have to say, I love your guys' relationship. It's fun to see like a brother-sister dynamic. You kind of give each other a hard time, you know?
We always
good
do.
nature.
Yeah, Maria and I we're similar in a lot of ways. We have a lot of differences, and we get on each other's nerves.
But you're also able to like see and call yourself out because you can see the other person in it. So it's like, I see what you're doing.
I mean,
and, like,
we have a large family, so like there's different relationships. Maria,
Within.
I think Maria with each other are probably the sibling that we're probably most likely to listen to.
Oh.
Right? Because sometimes you have a sibling, it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And sometimes with each other, it's kind of like, fine, yeah.
What number
Yeah.
are you guys?
I'm
we're
2,
and
she's 3.
But we're only like a year and a half apart.
Oh, wow.
So we were just 1 grade apart. So we experienced life kind
Yeah.
of at
Similarly,
the same
yeah.
pace. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to eating and wellness. I know, Maria, you've worked with a lot of your clients about this in terms of setting realistic goals, especially when it comes to their diets. But you have this challenge with your clients about whether it's goal setting for a new year or they've changed some of their eating habits for the best, and then they get into a relationship only to see that maybe suffer.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenge or things that you would recommend some of our listeners to help maintain or not really sacrifice healthy living for the sake of love?
Well, yeah, I think it's 2020 or New Year, whatever.
Same you.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of set this high expectation for ourselves too. Like we kind of set these like, I'm going to lose X amount of pounds. I'm going to be 100% plant-based. We kind of set these big things. And then we kind of sometimes can be so set on achieving a goal that we kind of lose sight of like the why you're doing it. Like, why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to, establish a better diet? And then when we get into the dating world, or if we're already in a relationship, that can like bump heads if somebody is like, well, I'm fine with the way I eat. Like, that's cool. You can stop eating meat, but I'm for sure not. And like that can kind of sometimes bump heads. So, I think it's one of those things of establishing like I always tell people you have to establish your why. Like, is it just weight loss? Do you want to feel better? Is there a moral dilemma? Because we make these diet changes for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Moral dilemmas are a little bit harder for sure. Like if all of a sudden you had a come to Jesus moment and you're like, I'm not touching animal products anymore, you're going to have a really hard time dating somebody who like eats meat or is paleo or like kind of the opposite.
Do you find people when they have the moral dilemma that's just they accept that morally for them they're not going to do it, but like they accept that other people haven't had that come to Jesus? Or do you find that there's like, well, I've decided, like almost a religion,
yes,
I've found this to be the case, I need you, if you want to be with me, to share these same values?
Well, I'm definitely not a huge fan of diet dogmas. I know I've talked to you about this before, where it's like, regardless if it's moral or if it's like, I see this a lot in my profession. When you know so much about certain foods, you can sometimes get a little bit on your soapbox about like, you shouldn't be eating Doritos, But at some point, we kind of get this dogma of like, I'm making these choices, so that makes me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
When we think our diet makes us a better person, then we usually tend to have a harder time accepting that somebody may not eat the same way as us. But if you're like, I'm making these choices and you may not be on the same page, that's cool, as long as you respect the fact that I'm making this choice. I'm going to respect the fact that you're making your own choice, and we can still exist in this relationship. And maybe when we go out to eat or we're sharing a meal, we just make sure there's kind of something for both of us at the table. So there needs to be a compromise,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some people where that's not the case, where it's like, I made this choice and you aren't choosing the same, and therefore I'm either going to hold it against you every time that we're eating separately, or I'm going to make my choice of changing diet like our problem. Like, oh, I wish I could have that. Oh, you're having Subway? Oh, I wish I could have that, but I can't because somebody told me I shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're not owning the fact that your decision to make a change is like coming from your own choice. Like,
It's like you want your partner to make it your
yeah.
diet choices easier on yourself.
Oh, I hear it all the time. Like, oh, this would be so much easier. But my husband at night, like he likes his ice cream. So then I have the ice cream. It's like, he can have all the ice cream he wants. And if you want to have the ice cream, so can you. But like, if you make a choice, like, hey, I kind of want to cut back on my sugar and dairy. don't eat the ice cream.
I mean, I'm assuming you've experienced people where like it literally creates relationship problems when it comes to like diet choices.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's always like an underlying issue of like, you never support me, not even with my diet.
Yeah, because there's that, we kind of been taught this like, well, if it's not in the house, I won't eat it, right? So it's like, well, if your partner is bringing it in the house and you have that idea that it's like it's everyone else's responsibility for you to adhere to whatever diet or lifestyle change that you're making, like you're going to fail. So what I work with my clients is really establishing like, well, why are we even suggesting this? Like, I'm a big proponent of if I recommend anything to you, I'm explaining to you exactly why. Like why you should do this, because this is how it's affecting the way you're currently feeling. Then when you make that choice to do that, you have a much more confident and like self-assured reason of like, I'm making this choice because I know why I'm making this choice, not just because Maria told me. Like no one's going to continue doing something just because someone told you to. Like you're going to be like, she said not to do this, but like I really want it. So I'm just not going to listen to her, right? Like we're okay with like breaking the rules of what someone told us not to do. But if your true reason is to feel better and you maybe have some existing health issues going on and having those chocolate chip cookies like legitimately sets you back because of X, Y, and Z, you're going to not care if your husband has them. And you're just, or your partner, or whoever you're dating.
Have you ever had clients who changed their eating habits, who were single, really kind of just improved their overall wellness? Then they meet someone, are excited, honeymoon stage, and all of a sudden slowly decreased from like all the things that they were doing?
Well, it's funny because part of me kind of wants to see that, not like a slow decrease, but I want to see flexibility,
balance,
right?
Or?
Yeah, because I think like if you're somebody who's single and you make all these changes and you're feeling really great, you're liking the way you look, you feel good in your clothes, you have all this confidence, you're attracting people. And then if you go into that relationship and like feel like you have to kind of white knuckle what worked for you, you're not going to be fun. Like if you're like, oh, but I don't drink and I don't do this, and oh, you want to go for pizza, but I don't do gluten, and so all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool, you're kind of a fun sponge. But at the same time, you still have to establish those boundaries. So I think it's important for us to have some flexibility. Like, yeah, I tend to not go out on a Tuesday night for some drinks, but this guy that I like is asking me to.
Goes
like
a trivia night at a bar?
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so go out Tuesday night and then maybe like hold back on the drinks Thursday, Friday. So it's like this negotiation and boundary that you have to set for yourself so that you can be flexible in meeting somebody. But yeah, I've had people where like a couple months later, they're like, so pretty much everything that helped me become more attractive and more dateable is like out the window, and now I feel like back to square one. And they have this come to Jesus moment that I call like where it's like, oh crap, like I'm not doing anything.
Just listen to you talk. If I were to play devil's advocate, because I would sometimes these diet changes for people can be challenging to do, and it takes a lot to have this commitment. And the only way they're able to do it, is to like kind of be hardcore, and have that balance. So, what are some tips and tricks or recommendations for someone who's just like, if I cheat, if I go and do this on Tuesday, I know it's a slippery slope into just giving this all up?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the thought of picking your poisons, right? So it's like if you pick your poisons don't pick you, right? So if it's like, okay, I know that I don't do well if I drink 3 nights out of the week, right? And it's like, okay, cool. Pick the nights you're going to drink, or pick when that's going to happen, or be flexible of when that could be, so that if somebody brings up, hey, let's go, you go out Tuesday for trivia night, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, well, this was so much fun. Let's go to like listen to some jazz music Wednesday night. And you're like, okay, and then let's go to happy hour Thursday. You can at least be like, you know what? I had my 2 nights, and like, not to say you can't go out a 3rd night, but I think it's important for us to have that flexibility and know what's not going to totally set you back. So,
and maybe if you go out, you like give yourself like a 2 drink minimum.
Yeah,
or
totally.
Like you have a couple drinks because you're and again, listen, for those of you people who, no one's saying to go out, you have to have a few drinks too. But if
No.
you ideally would like to have a drink or two,
Right.
do it. But 2 drinks is different than 6.
So similar with food too, right? So it's like, okay, he asked me to go to get pizza. And it's like, I'm really trying to cut back on
carbs
eating out or the carbs or dairy. Maybe it's a food group or I know I don't feel well when I eat that. So I think that's like really important. So I had a teacher, I had a professor who was great. And he was like, I know I don't do well with dairy. I know it kills me, but I love pizza. And so here's the truth. For the whole month, I stay away from pizza. And 1 or 2 times, I know, because I want it, I'm going to have pizza and I'm going to feel like total ass tomorrow. And I'm totally cool with it. He's like, he picks his poison. He's like, pizza's my poison. I'm still going to have it. And I'm okay with the way it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
So I think that's
setting
important.
those boundaries to
So you're not having pizza every night of the week just because you like it, right? So it's kind of like, what are the things that if you weren't going to do, like you kind of would probably feel miserable? And then pick a couple of times that you do that and set that boundary. I think whether you're making a healthy diet for yourself or you're in a relationship, like setting boundaries with what you know you want makes everything so much less emotional.
It's interesting that way too, because I feel like a lot of people, and I even speak for myself, it's like, it's all or nothing. Like I'm either going to stay away from it or I'm going to just do it. Right.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, to talk about your professor advice you give, it's like giving yourself permission to cheat. I mean, people have heard of cheat days. No one's invented, like, it's not
right.
but like really holding to that. Right. Because then it's just like, I had my cheat day. That's my cheat day. Or I'm going to go out or this, but like, for me, it would just like, oh, well, I'm going to stay away from soda. And then if I have soda, then the next day it's like, well, I had soda yesterday. So like, fuck it. I'll just have another one.
Well, that's why I
today.
actually don't like the term cheat days. I hate cheat days because I think that like gives us this like, well, let's say for 6 days of the week you did really well. And it's like, well, it's my cheat day. So I'm going to go all out and I'm going to do everything I haven't done. It's so much harder to come back around the next day versus
that's a good
being
point.
like,
Not cheat day because it's just
not
like,
a cheat day, but just having like you reference like having a soda. It's like, okay, you had the soda. And if you're like, soda doesn't make me feel great, it's kind of, not that great for me. You can have the soda and then like emotionally move on from it instead of being like, well, I had the soda, so let's go have it tomorrow. Like you're able to kind of like shut the door on it and be like, I had it, cool. It was all right. It's fine. It's not
that's
that
what
great.
I'll do. Because if I I don't have like, but if I feel like I'm having a cheating moment, I'll binge on a bunch of things.
But here's why I'm not a huge fan of that, because like life is never without a distraction, a holiday, a vacation, a wedding, you getting sick, something that's going to bring in either a temptation or inhibitions.
Yeah.
So if you feel so like nervous about those type of situations that might make you choose to do something that you've like sworn off, it's going to happen again and again and again. But if you're able to like infuse whatever diet or lifestyle or let's say workout into like life, then when that stuff comes up, you're so much more able to be like okay with the fact that it might slide, right? Like I might not be able to do this while I'm traveling or when it's my, grandma's 90th birthday or a holiday. So you have that flexibility and it's not just like, well, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, it's just going to be this big gorge fest because there's something all the time. And the all or nothing really sets you up for that.
Yeah.
You have to like climb out of a hole, right? Like
yeah.
you're on a mountain for 3/4 of it.
I feel like that's a lot
in
of people,
pit.
including myself.
Yeah.
It's just like all or nothing.
So a lot of what I work with my clients is like, how do we establish that balance? Like balance is so key for anything to be successful long-term. And in the beginning you might have to white knuckle it, right? Because sometimes it's just like a matter of cleaning out some like rocks in the muddy water. Like you got to get rid of the boulders before we start like cleaning the other crap out. But eventually you want to have an ability to bring it into your life and like live life with some, boundaries. I mean, boundaries are necessary. We need boundaries for ourselves. We need boundaries with our food. We need boundaries with our spouses and our kids and our bosses. I mean, it's no different.
It's tough though.
It's so tough. But once people kind of feel better and back to your thing about if somebody eats differently, it's if you establish a boundary for yourself, again, you can't establish a boundary for someone else. Like, that's not your child. Like, I can't establish a boundary for my husband and be like, well, because I'm not doing it, you're not doing it. That's not fair. And you're both going to fail and you'll be miserable at whatever it is that you're approaching. But like, if you're like, I'm doing this and that's cool if you don't do it here, and you don't need to share your reasons, but if you're firm with the reason why you're doing it, you're less apt to like succumb to temptation.
That's really
right?
helpful. Yeah. Well,
mean-
before we get to our callers, where can people find you? Who are some of the people that you work with on a daily basis, and what are some reasons people might want to consult with you?
Yeah. So my website is mariaviall.com. I work with people remotely. So I work with people kind of all over. They don't need to be established in Milwaukee, but I also do some online programs too for people. This is really to kind of help guide people. There's one, they kind of have two different things, but in general, they're there to kind of give you advice, guidance, support. But I work with people, it's interesting, kind of all different walks of life. I've people who are looking just for a healthy change. They need to do something. They're not feeling that great. I work with a lot of people who have maybe a specific condition or diagnosis that they want some advice on how to eat or feel better because they just haven't found the way. People with weight loss, kind of all different digestive issues. So, nutrition can help from a kind of general standpoint, but it also can be incredibly powerful when someone's not feeling that great for maybe some specific medical conditions.
Well, check out Maria at mariaviall.com. Also, Maria, again, as part of the Natural Habits family, and we have our wellness tips that we put out every week, usually at Natural Habits on Instagram. Just usually 3 to 4 healthy wellness tips that have a lot to do with eating and habit-based, in some ways to incorporate essential oils, but a lot of it is just mostly diet.
Yeah, I think it's good to have simple tips that you can implement.
Just natural habits. Natural healthy habits we try to implement. So check that out. And anything else before we get to our callers? Rochelle, anything?
No, I'm learning so much. That's why I'm so quiet. I'm like, oh, yes.
Well, we talk a lot.
Yeah, we have a great show for you. Maria sticks around and helps me answer some questions from callers. Very interesting panel today, and I think you will enjoy it.
Relatable.
And check us out tomorrow for our Bachelor recap with a
Such a good episode.
Special guest.
Are you kidding me? This episode was so good.
And then check us out on Wednesday when Tanya Rad joins us, a wonderful human being and friend, and I think you will really enjoy it. So thanks again, as always, for sticking with us 3 days a week now. I feel like people like it so far.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Hydrate Spark. Never has it been more easy to hydrate.
Yep, because once you get this Hydrate Spark 3 water bottle, you download the app to your phone, and it tells you if you're not reaching your goal.
I found out that I always never was reaching my goal. Because ideally, right, you want to drink enough water.
I know, I just pretended I was drinking enough, and now I'm like, oh, I was definitely not.
My skin is more supple. I'm feeling energized. I have more energy. I'm constantly hydrating. It's wonderful. And they take the guesswork out of drinking water, which seems like it would be so easy, but I feel like a lot of people relate to me in terms of, I know I don't drink enough water.
And it's the future people, so it actually glows when you need to drink, and I'm making it happen
And coffee
right now.
is not water, and soda is not water.
So coffee is not water.
So you need to get your water. You need to hydrate people.
It makes you prettier also.
It does. It makes your skin glow. So get a Hydrate Spark 3 smart water bottle for yourself today. You'll even get 20% off your first order if you use our code VIALL at checkout. Go to hydratespark.com. It's spelled with an I, so that is HIDRATE spark.com. Don't wait. Go to hydratespark.com. Discount code VIALL.
Can you imagine being in a workout in a dark room and it starts to glow?
Fuck yeah, I can. Cool. Let a soul cycle. Hold on, everybody. I gotta hydrate.
Screwball whiskey, our favorite whiskey. It's peanut butter flavored.
It is delicious. I've been a whiskey drinker for some time, and I gotta say, I'm really enjoying Screwball. It has a little bit of a sweetness to it that I haven't gotten most of my whiskeys, and I got to say it's a nice change of pace that way. I also recently tried it with some vanilla ice cream.
No way. Did you? Yum.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yum.
It was
If
really
I was over
delicious.
at your place and you just whipped that out, I would be so impressed.
Yeah, well, she was. Speaking of which, I know a lot of women who don't like whiskey.
Yeah.
And so
I don't like to just sip whiskey.
I some of my friends, I was like, you got to try this screwball whiskey.
No way.
Drink whiskey. First of all, let's try it with some ice cream. They loved it. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, just have a sip, but just without the ice cream.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's very delicious. And for those whiskey drinkers out there, you'll still love it. It's not just for the newbie out there.
Also, I just love the story behind it. It was created by a husband and wife team. He is a refugee who fell in love with peanut butter when he came to America, and she's a chemist.
Yeah. So the brains behind the operation. He's just the peanut butter fan.
Yeah.
He loves whiskey. I love it. It's great. So Screwball Whiskey, the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey, is now available nearly everywhere. At 70 proof, Screwball peanut butter whiskey is the perfect shot or the perfect addition to your favorite cocktail. Pick it up at your local store or ask for it at your favorite bar or restaurant. Ready to hashtag get screwed?
Hashtag get screwed.
Ready to hashtag get screwed? Well, I know I am. Go to screwballwhiskey.com for more info. Enjoy responsibly. Advertisement by Screwball Whiskey Spirits LLC, San Marcos, California. Whiskey with natural flavors and caramel coloring, 35% alcohol by volume.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
All right, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, Kim.
I'm 33 years old, calling from Canada.
Ooh.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Kim?
Excellent. Really excited to run my conundrum by you.
All right, let's hear it.
So I was a bit of a late bloomer in life, so I didn't actually have my first real boyfriend until I was 29 years old.
Okay.
And obviously that didn't last, but you start going through that, like running through what's my future going to be, which is like the most terrible thing you could do. So I've always envisioned being a mom. That's been my heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I teach early childhood education, so it's just who I am through and through. And after that relationship, I was so broken. But after I processed everything, I kind of realized what I was more broken about was I had dreamed about this future. And now, like, oh my gosh, I'm in my 30s. What's going to happen with my life? So I've been like on and off on the dating apps. Initially, I chased it really, really hard and just like hated my life. And then I kind of reached this place of, self-love, self-acceptance, and realized that I am a woman in now 2020 and I can make a family on my own. So I thought about doing it biologically for a little while and it just never landed. I'm a big fan of trusting my gut and it just didn't land.
Did you actually go through the process and try?
I didn't actually go through the process. I just kind of let it sit. I learned a lot about it.
Gotcha.
And
So you
decided it wasn't.
You did some recon, you investigated, and then came to a conclusion that now's not the right time.
Not my thing. I wouldn't be able to do it solo. I feel like it just wouldn't be my thing.
Okay.
So, as a teacher, I get to know a lot of kids. And one day while I was at work, the idea of adoption just landed for me because, like, I don't picture myself having a little baby by myself, but I totally picture myself having a child who may have been passed over.
Okay.
Because I'm able to do that. I'm an educator, so I feel comfortable in that. So that very night I went home and I started the process of adoption. So I'm just under a year in as a single lady. Really excited about it. I've got a lot of family support. I also do know and have realized that I do eventually want to have a significant other, more to enhance my life, but I don't want to force it and wind up with someone that doesn't fit for me. So I'm in that position of like, do I date right now and be like, hey, surprise, I'm going to have a kid one day. Not going to be yours, going to be mine. It's just a tricky position. Do I go out on the apps? Do I just wait it out until I have the child with me? I'm not in a rush, but I'm also like, I don't want to not be making an effort.
How old are you?
33.
I'm
33.
So that's your conundrum? Or
That is my conundrum.
I I don't think it's much of a conundrum.
I don't either.
I really don't. It's fascinating. I say good for you, but you don't really hear this much, right? You hear it's more, I've had a kid of my own. You know, I for whatever reason, maybe you were married or in a relationship or whatever. You get the single mom question often of, you know, where I'm at. I had a friend who not too long ago was considering what you were considering before of having her own child on her own, being artificially inseminated. And then she was asking me about, like, you know, going out and dating and what's it going to be like. And that can be tricky in terms of like, well, I'm going to get pregnant on my own. But you're thinking of adopting. And so you're not going to get pregnant, right? There's not going to be any kind of period in which, you know, your body is going to be changed or anything like that. Not that there's, you know, my advice to her was like, well, go out and date, you know, like whatever. In your case, I think it's great. I mean, I'm thinking on my own, if I were to meet a woman who let's say we met, right? And you told me your story, I would be like, that's such an attractive thing, you know? Absolutely. I would think that to be a really attractive thing. You know, it's like, I think sometimes single moms get self-conscious about, will a guy want to date me if I'm a single mom? You know, as a guy who hasn't settled down yet, who wants kids, I've dated single moms. It's great. I mean, I think there's sometimes as a guy, there's a little of anxiety because it's like, oh, you know, well, what if their dad doesn't, you know, what if there's issues with the dad, or what if there's, you know, in terms of kind of the having to respect the family dynamic you're kind of dating into, right? And I think as a guy who might date a single mom, there's that kind of reluctance on my part. You don't even have to deal with that. You're adopting a child and you're doing this great thing. And, you know, I mean, there's if you date a parent, there's going to be, it's a different situation. You know, you're not going to be going out and maybe having the exact same amount of freedom that you would as a kid. But I mean, you're also 33, you know, you're not like a 22-year-old who's going to go, you know, needs to meet someone you're probably not going to meet someone who's going to be clubbing all the time or wanting to go out multiple times a week.
No. I don't need someone to raise. No thanks. I'll have a child.
So there's a good chance that the person you date is going to be around your age, maybe even older. It could be kind of bonkers if you're like, I'm adopting and then I met a 24-year-old. Like that might not be a plan for you. But I think it's a great thing. I don't think you should give it two thoughts about should I date or not. If you want to date, you absolutely should. And I guess I would encourage you too to like still make sure that you want to. This adopting thing is great, but don't put any other. I would emphasize, don't put any other part of your life on hold. Your dating life, your desire to have your own children. It's great that you're doing this, but don't let adopting and being a way to kind of mask the other things you've always wanted for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a good point.
Like, let this be the great thing that it is, but not something that you're doing to try to forget that you still want to have your own family or meet someone or settle down.
No, that's really good advice. I guess the other thing I would wonder if I do go about the app dating, because honestly, I'm not going to meet a bar star at 33, nor do I want to.
A bar star.
How soon you?
Ooh, I like that. Should we a bar? I'm assuming it's someone who's a star at the bars.
Yes, the bar star.
That's
They're
great.
Like the hottest guy at the bar. You don't want to go home with that guy.
Did you make this up, Andy? Can we steal this?
That's a great
I
line.
think it's Saskatchewan lingo, but you're more than welcome to use it.
That Canadian
We're bringing it.
wit.
We're bringing it to LA.
I like it. Bar stars.
Bar star.
That's so good.
Do I put it on my profile that I'm a future adoptive mom, or do I just kind of like go with the flow and let it pop up?
No. Again, let this be the great thing that it is. This doesn't redefine who you are. You don't need to put a banner up, certainly not on your dating profile. It doesn't have to be all over your social media. It's just something you are doing for yourself and for this child. And then when you, even on your first date, it's not like something in the first 5 minutes. Oh, just so you know, before we get ahead of ourselves, you need to know that I adopted a kid. Like, no, like meet the guy on a first date. Find out if you're even interested in getting to know him. Find out if you're even interested in letting him get to know you. Maybe on a second date when if you want to tell him on the first date, fine, but don't feel like you need to let him know. This is not some baggage you are all of a sudden taking on. at all. So don't feel like, oh God, I gotta let them know this is not baggage. Don't create something that's not baggage into baggage. This is just a really cool thing that you're considering doing. That I just don't feel like would limit you from finding anyone that I'm assuming you would want to meet.
I'm going to interject here really quick.
I'm 100% doing it. I'm on the wait list. It's part of me. So, I mean, I don't consider it baggage, but I definitely thought it might be a challenge in dating. So it's really good to hear the opposite perspective of there not being a father figure, the family dynamic, all of that. That really helps.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things. Like, one, kudos to being a late bloomer. Like, I was 100% a late bloomer. But look at like how much more mature you are in your decisions. You're like, I thought about this. I sat with it. I'm like, nah. But now I think it's so you have a pretty good intuition and you give yourself time to kind of come to that. So I think with that, knowing that, and I can say this as a new mom, is like it's gonna be tough. It's gonna consume a lot of your time. But at the same time, if it's something that you know you want to do and you know that's gonna be part of like kind of completing who you are, that's just gonna like make you most likely more attractive to people, right? So the other thing similar to Nick is what Nick said is when you go about it and while you're going about it, I think that there's something to be said knowing that it's not going to just all of a sudden be easy, right? There's going to be some challenges with that. And that may or may not affect your ability to date as much. But make sure that you definitely take that time to like fulfill your desire to find someone, because kids can be super consuming. And just if your desire is to find someone that you want to be with, just really make sure that that is as important as this whole adoption process. And when and if you get a lovely child, that you schedule that time for you, because I think you'd be remiss if you kind of got caught up in feeling that desire just with the child.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, and that's the only thing when you were telling your story before you kind of dropped the adoption thing on us, is that, again, the adoption thing is great, but being a late bloomer, you've only had one relationship, and it sounds like you dated someone, you finally had a first boyfriend at 29. There was some I don't care what age you are, the first time you experience real love and then heartbreak, it's a terrible feeling. You've literally never felt that way before. This loss of, and so it makes sense that in the panic of we've all been there of, oh, okay, I'm at this age and I wanted to have kids, et cetera, and I'm sure it's different for women than for men. But and again, I'm not discouraging any way the adoption thing. I think it's a great thing, but I agree with Maria. Make sure like you are still young.
For sure.
Most people don't marry their first loves. And just because you were a late bloomer.
But she's also from Saskatchewan. And may I make an assumption that it's like people get
limited?
Married. Well, people get married young and start families young. I mean, like you probably know people who are your age who have like a couple kids.
There's either the party guy who just never settles down ever, it seems, or there's the guy that got married early or is
divorced.
Divorce.
Yeah,
great. Hey, those guys, those married and now divorced are the best.
Maria married one.
I married one, and I didn't get married till I was 36, and I only had like 3 boyfriends, and I had been engaged before to my first boyfriend, and like so.
And that was a mess. That took
total
forever
mess.
To get over that one.
But I'm just saying though, like I totally hear you, but you're only 33. Like I literally got married when I was 36, and I had my first baby when I was 37. Like.
I love hearing you say you're only 33. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you are and first of all, you look
young.
really young.
Well, when you turn 40, you're gonna meet someone who's 35 and be like, "Oh, girl,
I'm telling you, your 30s are your best years for sure. So you're just like right at the beginning of it.
30s.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing with it is I think it's really great to go towards this adoption thing, but I wouldn't. Like, I kind of feel like part of you is like, I really want to have a kid. I feel like it may not happen for me. I've had this boyfriend. I'm not seeing anyone else. I think you need to give yourself maybe a little bit of time. And I know it sucks because I'm sure people compare their stories all the time. Like, don't worry, the person will come. Like, it happened to me. But you've been single for 3 years?
Yeah, it was 2017. So yeah, about that.
Yeah, girl.
I mean, to be honest, if you would have said, I looked into the artificial insemination process and I'm considering doing that, et cetera, should I date? Again, I wouldn't discourage you from doing that if that's what you wanted to do. I would probably emphasize more and remind you more that you've only had one boyfriend and you're still 33.
Yeah.
So let's not panic, you know?
Yeah.
The adoption thing is a unique thing. I think it actually kind of is neat. And I just can only imagine meeting a young woman who's like, I'm single and I've adopted a kid. I would have been like, that's
Definitely
that's
shows
pretty
you're
cool.
like a strong woman, you know?
So
like,
again, by all means, like continue to look through that process. But I really agree with Maria. Take a long look in the mirror and think about, you know, where you're at, and just make sure that if you do this, you're doing this because you are in fact ready and has nothing to do with your panicking. Because to that point, you can adopt a kid
when you're 45.
when maybe, you know, again, things are all going to work out for you. But so just make sure you are ready, you know.
I look at family dynamics too. Like my brother has little ones. So like I feel very supported and very confident, especially like being a teacher. Like my heart is so there. And I know that it wasn't just a Band-Aid because it was quite a while after the fact.
Okay. Yeah.
So that part of my life is so settled and I'm so comfortable with. But I do like the piece of you saying not giving up on the rest and still pursuing the rest.
I would,
Yeah.
especially if you decide or are able to adopt a child, I mean, obviously you have to take care of the child, and as Maria said, there's a lot of time commitment and it can be very consuming, but I would make that a point of emphasis for yourself to make sure that you actually, instead of you were saying, oh, do I still stay on dating apps? I would make dating and fulfilling your personal life a point of emphasis for you and make it a top priority. Obviously, in addition to making sure you're, you know, the child's getting what it needs from a parenting standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what we can do is, it sounds like you have family. You said your brother, so you have some examples of like a family unit. So you have these really great examples around you. And I would also encourage you, like, kind of look at what's around you. So when you see people who are like married and have babies, is there any sort of like, oh, I wish that was me?
You know, like quite a while ago there was.
Yeah.
I've just really been at peace lately.
Okay.
So like that's the part that's put me in this conundrum because I'm like, I
Good.
feel like I should probably be making more of an effort than I am. But
No,
I'm really
what I was going to say about that is I think that like really celebrate the families around you, the moms around you, the people who have kids, like really spend time with those kids. Like, and sometimes I think we're going to keep saying you're young, one, because you are. I mean, 33 is young. And so continue to look at the adoption process. And like, I would also always stay open and being like, you know, this or something better type of mentality. Like, I'm going to look into this because I know I want to have kids. But still know that there is probably potential right around you, but like, just don't be so narrowly focused of like, I'm going to fill this need to have a family by kind of jumpstarting it, and not, fulfill the need of having a companion too. You know, I think we can do that quite easily. And I'm telling you, those divorced guys, they learn from their first marriage and then all of a sudden they're like a better version of themselves.
On Bumble, what are you looking for? Must have been divorced.
No, a divorcee who's learned, you know, a few lessons.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't have to, bios are so overrated, but if you notice a guy who has been divorced, don't let that discourage you.
Not at all.
Or has a kid, maybe.
Or has a
Or
kid.
a kid,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great point. Yeah.
Much easier adoption process.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I do have to say, I think it's amazing that you're looking at adopting as a single woman and feeling super confident. Like you have a pretty mature outlook on things. Like it doesn't sound rash.
You sound like you have.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So I think like you have to follow your gut. Sounds like you do. You practice some discernment and just don't let it hold you back from like what you really want. You know, I think that's kind of the resounding message.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take some risks.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think
Yeah.
that's good for, and that's a good point because I don't know you at all, but you might not be the biggest risk taker.
I am in my professional life, not in my
In
personal.
personal,
Yeah. So, girlfriend, I totally understand you. And if this
Maria
is
is
any
not a risk taker
I'm
at
not.
all. There's something that maybe.
No, I am. I'm not. I wasn't
You're not.
relation. I wasn't relation. Nick.
In her personal life, she was not much of a risk taker.
No, like emotional, like with like dating.
Yes, or
Yeah.
your career.
Mike, what are you
Look,
talking
we're
about?
a bit of overthinkers. You're not.
Nick, I moved to other countries. You sat
No,
home
no,
in
no, no,
Milwaukee. I lived in Hungary where no one spoke
Oh.
English for a year, and you
Okay.
stayed in Milwaukee.
I'm not talking about that.
She didn't
Well,
go on a
that's-
reality
no.
show.
Well, yeah,
Anyways,
that- but what I was going
you're
to
a
say
risk
with
taker.
that is, what I was going to say with that is, if it's scary dating, the best advice I got from a friend was, if anything, you'll walk away with a good story. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's like a total crash and burn, you'll have a great story to share with your friends, right?
Call
so,
us up and let us know.
yeah. So don't put too much weight into
So
it.
if I go on a really horrible date, I can email you guys, let you
Totally.
know how it went.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. And as
Well,
Say
one,
that
really
was
good.
terrible advice.
as one 33-year-old to another, just don't panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to panic, but we don't need
You
to panic.
do want to panic, but yeah, it's just it's
Well, you guys rock so much. This is more than I even thought I would get from you. So that's so awesome.
all
I'm
right.
going to take some risks and we'll
All right.
see what happens.
Thanks for calling. Best of luck. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
I
Yeah.
didn't take risks. What are you talking about? In what way?
You would we're both overthinkers, but like especially like I remember going to college. Should I go? Should I do this? Should I go? Should I
I
do this?
understand. Well, okay, that doesn't mean it's
Offensive.
because you just like painted me as like I sat in
said you wanted to-
Waukesha the whole time. Like I've
I feel like I
traveled.
struck a nerve.
You did. So I think that's really. I think that was not a very accurate description of me.
Okay.
I've lived in more.
How'd you know?
I've lived in more countries than you have.
I
just
didn't
because I
say
didn't do The
overwhel-
Bachelor.
Oh God. Did I?
Jesus.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I'm Kelsey. I'm 31.
Hi, Kelsey. 31. How can we help?
So my question is that the past few guys that I've dated, that I thought things were potentially going to get serious, they've ended things by saying that I deserve more than what they can give me. So I just want to know, I guess, what they really mean by that.
Did they give examples?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they say. They're just like, you deserve more than what I can give right now. And they kind of leave it at that.
So okay, well let's dive into you here for a second. How these guys you've dated? How did you meet them? Were they kind of back to back
Dating apps.
dating
yeah.
app? Okay.
But then I see them also on the app later, usually as well.
Yeah, of course. They haven't like just because they didn't want to date you doesn't mean they've given up on love. But as far as like when you're looking for a guy, what made you decide with each of those guys, this is a guy I want to pursue?
I'm the attraction, I guess. I mean, I feel like I do go out and like meet quite a few guys, but then the in-person connection is obviously more rare. But then the feeling seems to be mutual. So we end up dating for a few months.
Okay.
And then I think when things start to get to that point of either continuing and being more serious, they tend to break it off and give me that reason.
How-
And
makes
this is
sense.
exclusive? Like you guys were exclusively dating? That conversation happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
About being exclusive, or you were?
Yeah, like dating exclusively, but I've never gotten to the point of, I don't know the difference, I guess, necessarily either, but like putting the title on it of boyfriend and girlfriend as well.
Sure. When you think back, I mean, are there any common themes with these relationships of how you act per se? Like when you meet, it's like so you meet a guy, you go on a date, and for you personally, you think to yourself, you know what, maybe there's something there. Let's I want to keep hanging out with him. How do you what do you do at that point? Where do you go from there?
I mean, if I see potential, like I like to give it my all just to say I can try, like I did try. So maybe that's coming off the wrong way. But that's kind of, I think, my common denominator is I just like to give it everything I have just to say I tried.
Are you looking, are you in a position right now where you're kind of looking for like a companion, like a long term, or are you like okay with dating? Yeah. Okay. So there's a little bit of.
I'm dating to, develop something serious. And I do want to get married and have a family one day. So that is what I'm looking for.
When you say you give it your all, which is great, always nothing wrong with giving your all. What do you mean by that? And that, like, because you know, as you say, this is all going on within the first month or two. So, like, what does giving it your all mean to you when you meet a guy, you haven't defined any relationship, you are hanging out on a somewhat consistent basis? What do you start doing at that stage?
I mean, I like to make time for that person. I don't ever like neglect my friends necessarily, but I'll just make time for that person in my life, invite them over. Like I like to give and just take care of people too. So I like to have guys over and make dinner and things like that. So to me, that's.
Do you feel like, looking back, that in these situations, you're the one asking to hang out more often than they're reaching out to you? Like, hey, come over, I'll make you dinner.
Looking back,
Hey, let's go see a movie, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then my last question, well, not my last, but another question is, these three guys, you said this happened the past 3 times. What's the time frame in which you liked the first guy and when you liked the last guy?
Like the first guy this happened with was almost exactly a year ago.
Okay, so
and then there was one over summer.
That's 3 guys in a year, which I'm not saying is a ton, but there's not that many great guys out there. I guess what I'm saying is, I think my guess is, and like, listen, you are not alone. I mean, this is like half our audience.
Classic fuckboy line,
not
right
even
there.
necessarily fuckboy. And this says, let's not blame the guys here.
Really?
Right? No,
I blame the guys.
No,
I think
it's just a difference in what you both were looking for, and I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody wanting to hang out, but your needs and what you're looking for and what they're looking for is different. And
that's what I'm saying. I think you're just. I don't know these guys. I'm sure they're fine. I don't doubt there was a mutual connection. But I think as soon as you feel any type of connection and spark, as long as, like, I feel like for you, you're either like, you go on a date and you're like, I'm not interested, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Right. Or then if you meet a guy and you're kind of interested, you're just like, you get excited. And listen, these are all normal things.
Yes.
Right. But then you start like really going for it, and you start moving it forward, and you start, well, I want to try hard, so I'm going to do this X, Y, and Z. Just because you feel that initial attraction and interest doesn't mean you have to you can still you still have a lot to learn about someone. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they are deserving of your kind of vetting process to see if he's your guy, so to speak. He's just a guy you have a connection with. And so, like, slow roll it and kind of see how it feels. Because, yes, the pattern is you like a guy and you are moving it way too fast than it should. And then you're playing house a little bit. And he's kind of like, well, she's cool, so I want to hang out with her. She seems like a nice person. But I'm like, ugh, I'm getting a little... You're kind of squeezing the shit out of the guys you like, so to speak, emotionally. Yeah. And listen, you're not the only one. Like, this is, everyone who's listening is relating. I mean, who's single.
And I think it's a common thing. I can only speak from my standpoint, but I think it's a common thing for women, right? Like, you're in your 30s, you probably have friends who are like partnered up. You meet a guy that you're like, he seems cool. We have this connection. Like, I'm just like casually inviting him over, and like, we're just casually having dinner, and like, we're a lot of fun. No, but I think though that like, I think we can emotionally, it's like, if somebody seems like there might be something, we kind of get this like, well, let's kind of like create how this could work out. Like he seems nice enough. And then we get really invested and we sometimes overextend, invite. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for yourself, you might find a peace of mind because right now I feel like you're asking like, how do I change this? Right? Like, how do I get this to change? I think the more that you can be excited, so you can be excited about meeting somebody and having a connection, but then like allow yourself like some breathing room, right?
Yeah.
Like breathe and be like, okay, cool. We hang out. Cool. I'm going to like do my thing and like allow myself to be excited, but maybe allow myself to know that it's part of being really happy with who you are without anyone. And that sounds so like cliche, but like being okay with like being alone.
But also, correct me if like, let me ask you, when that initial attraction, when you look back on those three guys, how much, kind of echoing what Maria said, how much after the initial attraction did you stop and think like a week in, 2 weeks in, a month in, how am I feeling about this guy? You know, how do I feel? Because my guess is once you kind of liked the guy, you just decided, I want to try to make it work with him.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's what men do it too, but I feel like especially women in their late 20s, early 30s, when they're feeling the pressure of settling down, it's hard for them to meet people they like, but once they meet any guy with a connection, they just like turn off all their like requirements and like not necessarily standards, but they just say, well, I like him, so I gotta
put up with
me.
this, and
And you just come over and let's play house. And I think for maybe the next time you meet, you have that attraction. Go out. Just there's nothing wrong with reaching out, but just always kind of like each week, kind of say, how does he make me feel? Does he reach out to me?
Yeah.
Is he asking me out on dates, or am I always reaching out to him? Like, why am I always asking him out?
Right, exactly.
Is he doing the things that I, when I sit back, when I'm single and I'm like, hanging out with my girlfriends and my girlfriend say, describe in very detail the guy you want to meet, and you make a very detailed list. And I'm not saying you don't do that in terms of like, this guy has to match everything.
Yeah, it's like a check.
But are you, when you like a guy, is he meeting any of these needs? Because my guess is when you've met these guys, you never asked that question once. You just were like, I like him, and so he's nice and he's attractive, and I feel this initial spark, and that's good enough for me.
And I hate to say this, but there's no way that all three of these guys were knock him out of the park.
No, there's no
stand
way.
up, wonderful, like, another wonderful one got away.
Yeah,
like, I can confidently say that, and you're a lovely person. Like, that's not on you. But what Nick is saying is get excited, like it. But yeah, like if you are just going to like, oh, there's an attraction, I like this guy. And it's more so because you just really want to find someone. Yeah. I'm going to quote my brother. He may not have made this up, but he always says, desperation is a stinky cologne. And so, like, I think sometimes if we are so desperate to find someone, and I'm not saying you're desperate, but that need of being like, girl, I've been there. Like, that need of being like, I just want to find someone and he seems really good. Like, we just all of a sudden just like, we just start perspiring this like stank of like, it's me and you, buddy. And they're probably like, I can't give you everything you need, and like back up.
Read
slowly,
a book
right?
about the art of negotiation. I don't try to like.
Oh, really?
Just like I'm not trying to unromance the dating process, but yes, like there's a little like there's always game playing, and when you meet someone you have a connection with, it's like striking a deal, and you're just like, where do I sign? And he's just like, whoa, I don't know.
I haven't even like written out my clauses yet. Like
you're offering me this deal for free. I don't, is it free? Because sometimes free can get really expensive, because, and there's it's that same mentality. So my advice to you is be excited when you go on a date and like a guy. And that's a great thing. Don't overthink that, but just remind yourself that I still don't know him. Still be a lot to learn. When you get excited about a guy, don't try to find problems, but just be open to the fact that you just have a lot to learn about him. Any guy you meet is going to have his pros and cons.
For sure.
There's going to be things about him that you're not going to like. Be open to learning about that, not as a way to not like him, but to realize that he's just a guy. And you have to really find if there's a connection there. And if you are, as you do that, you will probably find that you are less kind of, jumping on him and always asking him. Make yourself a little unavailable sometimes.
Yeah. Have you actually, and I know this sounds like a cliche journaling exercise, but have you ever like taken time to like write down or think about and like really take an honest look at the type of person you want to be with? Like the qualities that you're really looking for?
I've started to more recently, but definitely in the past haven't.
Yeah, so I think the more you can become really clear and maybe have some examples of relationships that you admire, and like, I think then you have a better standard set when you do meet someone to be like, okay, you seem cool, I like you, there seems to be something, but then you at least have something to like, you know what you're looking for, and you're not, you may, but most cases, you're probably not going to find somebody who checks all of those boxes, but you at least have an idea of what your non-negotiables are, right? So I think it's important to know what you're looking for. And then there's kind of like this, like, sorry, I will not be with somebody who like, whatever, like swears at me, or, you have a standard of what you're looking for that you can then bring into dating and not have this, like, you like me, I like you. Okay, great. This is it.
Yeah, and that and I agree with Maria. And that list shouldn't be like superficial things like I want him to have graduated from college and not have tattoos, and I mean, but have those things. But and that list should include things of how does he make you feel?
Absolutely,
right? With his actions, right? And again, that list is there to remind you once you have that initial excitement about a guy to check in with, oh wait, he actually hasn't done anything to make me feel this way. And that and don't mistake the feeling of I like him and it's exciting, and that feeling of desire because like you're chasing him, and that's very exciting. But like, and so I think that's what you need to do is kind of like next time you go in, prepare yourself of how to like process the excitement of liking a guy. Because right now you're probably suffocating them all a little bit, and you're not really doing anything that wrong. I'm sure like it's not like you're going crazy or doing anything out of control. You're just not. You're not qualifying. You're not qualifying them at all. You're just giving them totally a free pass past the initial attraation.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not alone.
No,
right?
Not at all.
And there's. So that it's just that, because I totally agree with Maria. There's no way these three guys were all that great. They were fine, and you liked them, and that's neat. And then you just made them feel like they had you if they wanted you.
And what Nick said about being unavailable sometimes, I think is really hard to do, especially if you're somebody who's like a giver. You're like, well, he wants to hang out with me. Like, why would I not hang out with him? But being unavailable for somebody that you're maybe excited about is not just good for you to just not always be around when they need you to, but also for you to establish a boundary, a healthy boundary that if, for example, the next person you meet is the one, you're going to want to have some sense of self and like healthy boundary established early, because it's really hard to establish if like you don't in the begining.
Yeah, you go on a couple dates, make sure he's calling you for the third date or something like that. And then I know you're going to have this fear, but what if he doesn't call? Well, if he doesn't call, that means he's not as excited as you hope he was.
Exactly.
But like what might happen, and that's totally normal, you go on a couple dates, you don't call, a week later he calls. That's fine. You've only been on 2 dates. Like just because there's initial attraction, again, like, it's 2020. People, when they're dating, they're on date, especially with dating apps. People might be dating 3 or 4 people at first, and then they kind of realize, oh, I really like this person, and those people the other people kind of fade away, right? Like, acknowledge that, that happens. So like, if you go on a date with someone, there's a good chance they might have been on a date with someone else a week later, and they maybe have plans to go on a date with someone else next week. You've only met them, so they don't know you. So just slow it down at first and kind of see how it's going. See if he reaches out to you, and I think if you start implementing some of these practices, you will find a different reaction from some of these men.
You got to make your list.
Yeah.
And again, I know it sounds so hokey and cheesy, but if you never give yourself time to like acknowledge what you're looking for, you're going to accept everything that feels remotely exciting. And that's a sure stage of you calling back up in a few months and being like,
because right now your list is, I find him attractive.
Yeah.
He makes me laugh and he's not a total asshole.
yeah,
That's your list right now.
yeah.
Basically.
Yeah,
So
so
you're-
set some standards for you. You're a beautiful girl. Like, it's not like you have to like settle for whoever like swipes. What way is accepting? Right?
Swipe right. Yeah.
Swipe right. Sorry, I've never done that one.
No, but she's not liking everyone. But the few people she has, because I think it's hard.
Right.
I
I'm saying
totally
though,
get where
you
you're
don't
coming
need
from.
to accept everyone that like
She thinks
wants
it's
to
cute.
date with
Yeah.
you. Like every time there's a connection, like that's just like one aspect of this potentially becoming something, right? So
Yeah.
set your standard.
It's hard. Dating is hard. It sucks. It's just a reminder, the most amount of people you will ever date that won't fail is one. And that's everyone. That's the maximum number of relationships you can have that won't fail. Dating is hard,
Yeah.
So you don't get to like bat 300, so to speak. You bat like, 100. You date 10 people, maybe one works, So don't get discouraged. Like this,
Yeah.
it's not meant to work out with most people. That's the idea of finding your one, And so I think people so quickly just get discouraged and try to make it work and force it. So try not to do that. All right?
Um,
All right. Well,
you, guys.
best of
Yeah,
luck.
you're
You're going to be
welcome.
great.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a line the guy said.
Well,
Well, maybe it's a nice.
it
It's
is a
nice
line.
Nice way to
but
put
it
it.
might actually, there's some truth to it. I mean, if she's inviting them over and she's making them dinner and they're like, whoa, this chick is like ready. It's like, I can't give you what you need. And that there's truth to that. Like, I can't be there and like play house and like commit to you and like be right on the same
It's
page.
also a line,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, there,
also
these,
not
and
being
that's
a-
why there's plenty of situations where, we call out the
Rochelle's like,
fuck.
it's
we,
a line.
we call out the fuck boys
He's
for
a
being
dick.
fuck boys, but this is not a fuck boy problem. This is her problem.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
100
here's what.
Some of those guys could have been fuck boys. Don't get me wrong, but good guys who aren't fuck boys who are looking for relationships could meet our young lady friend and decide to go. Just like, I don't know. She's just like, she's available.
Well, just
You
like
know?
I don't think that they were three knock them out of the park guys. I don't think that they were three dicks. And like
One might have been a fuck boy. Two guys might have
Right,
been seriously
exactly.
looking for a relationship.
but the continuing theme is her, right?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
gotten the same message from three people in 1 year. So it's like at that point, it's like, is it the guy or is it something she's doing? And I think the fact that she even called up to be like, what am I doing wrong? Shows that she's like,
totally.
she
Willing to
wants to
look.
change.
But
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're just dating fuck boys.
Yeah, that's
no.
what I would say.
I
Yeah,
don't
they're all
think
fuck boys
so.
until they're not.
Right.
Yeah. But to Maria's point, it's like the person who's like, I always have bad roommates.
Yeah, right. Like
Do you?
everyone around
You always
everyone
have
around
bad
me.
roommates, huh?
Like, yeah, I'm fighting with everyone around me.
I
It's
don't like drama, but it's
It's
just
just like, oh, that
right,
finds me.
exactly. What's the continuing theme here?
Yeah. So, listen, yeah, she is. There's a lot of people in that position, guys and girls do it. I find that we talk about it a lot. Like sometimes it feels like the women have this expectation of just like me back and I'll like you.
Yeah.
For the people they do like. Because it is hard to even like someone. We all feel that. And then once we like someone, we're like, we want to make it work because we feel this attraction. But that initial attraction and actually falling in love with someone are miles apart.
Oh my god.
How's it going?
Good. Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. How old are you, Sarah?
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm 28 years old.
28. Wow. All right. Nice little variety of our ages.
I'm forever 28. That's like my.
That's your
my-
dream
That's
age?
not my dream age. I just always feel like I'm 28. Like like when you're like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I'm turning this. I still feel like I'm 28. Anyways,
Because
enough about
you're
me.
not 21 because you're
Enough
not
about
doing the same
me
thing.
and that. That's total tangent.
All right, Sarah. How can we help you?
Yeah. So this question doesn't really, I feel like, have a yes or no answer. It's not really situational. It's just more I was reflecting on some goals for 2020 and looking back at 2019. Obviously, this has a lot to do with dating, but I didn't really date much last year. I traveled a lot. I was busy with work. So for 2020, I was looking for advice on how I can approach dating to be more meaningful and get more out of it. I just feel like a lot of the dates I've been going on recently with guys just haven't been going anywhere, or they're going in a direction that isn't like commitment. So I'm just wondering, like, if there's things I can ask on dates, or where I should be looking for dates. Maybe it's online, that's not the right place, just for a way so I'm maximizing the time that I have, because I am busy and I travel a lot. So just,
And
looking for deeper.
can you ask her to tell you a little bit about her 2019 dating? And also, I just want to add, I picked this because I want tips for 2020. 2020 is going to be a good year. You know
Rochelle books these questions, and sometimes she reads your emails, and we'll have a habit of calling out our callers who sometimes leave out information. Is there something you want?
Yeah, I
her
just
to share?
want her to say like what she's been doing the past year that she.
Yeah, what have you? Yeah, well, that was my question. Can we dive in a little bit more specifically in some of your 2019 escapades?
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote the email, I started really talking about what my goals were for 2019, because my 2018, I feel like dating was just really all over the place. I wasn't doing it for meaningful connections. I was having fun. So I approached 2019 for trying to find more meaningful connections with the guys that I'm dating. And I feel like I didn't really date much. I was traveling pretty much the entire part of the year. And then maybe toward the end of the year, I started dating again. And then also in the summer, I had like a situation with one of my best guy friends, and we kind of had a thing, and like I was kind of hung up on it. So it kind of, I don't know, steered my dating in a different direction for a little bit. And then, toward the end of the year, I started going back on dates again, and they just weren't really going the way I wanted them to.
Were you traveling for fun or for work, or what were you traveling for?
For work. I was traveling probably about 2 weeks out of the month. So I was almost never home.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I traveled alone. And I did that in 2018 as well. But when I was traveling alone, I was meeting people, having fun. And then I feel like this year I was trying to be more career focused and just get my work done. So I wasn't really meeting people. Pretty boring, really.
Okay.
Are you wanting to continue to date, or are you like looking for someone like a relationship?
I think at 28, I'm looking for a relationship. I mean, that comes with dating, and I feel like I've been going on a lot of dates, and it's just not necessarily going the direction that I want them to. I feel like pretty much all the guys I've been seeing recently are like, let's go back to your apartment. Like, okay. Like, I don't know if the conversations I'm not having aren't getting to that point. Like, I don't know if men aren't taking me seriously. Like, I don't know if I'm just dating the wrong guys. Do I need to keep trying?
Just out of curiosity, because like, listen, part of dating is kind of your picker, so to speak, in terms of guys, and sometimes our pickers can be off. There is that, right? But let's focus on you for a second. If I were to be hanging out with your friends and you're not there, and I was like, hey, what do you think Sarah's biggest problem is when it comes to dating? What do you think they would say? Like, what are the things that you think you could do? And I mean, like, really, don't give me the, like, I work too hard kind of answers. I'm a perfectionist. But, like, what do you think, if there's anything, in terms of any patterns that you're kind of exhibiting in terms of, from a dating standpoint?
I guess I might come across as too casual. Like, I would say a lot of my personal friendships are with guys. Like, I have a lot of guy friends, and I'm kind of like a guy's girl. So when I'm going out on dates, maybe I come across as being too much of a friend.
Okay.
And not as like a serious potential relationship for them. Like, I enjoy sports. So, some dates I go on, I'm like, oh, I want to watch the game together, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I guess maybe that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. The reason I asked if you're looking for a relationship, because when you're talking about your past years, like when you are sharing that, like what I hear is like that you don't want a relationship. You're like, oh, I was going out and I was traveling, I was meeting these people and it was a lot of fun. Like you kind of emphasize how fun the dating was when there was maybe not this relationship expectation. And then when you kind of changed your goals of I wanted to be a relationship, you wanted it to be fun, but I'm just assuming like not to say you can't have fun dating and it become a relationship, but I think there's a difference between dating for like a fun time.
Well, I mean, you can also kind of to Maria's point. You're like, do you think there was a time where do you want a relationship or do you think you should be in a relationship?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, yes, I do want to be in a relationship, but I don't want to force it just because I'm 28 or that's what I feel like I should be doing.
I mean, listen, it's like in terms of like reassessing your goals for 2020 or in a new year, it's kind of just that is figure out what you really want and let the past be the past in terms of don't, what you want now is in the present. It doesn't like what you did in the past doesn't really have much of an impact in a sense. Like don't do things in 2020 to try to overcome things you've did or didn't do in the past. If you want to be in a relationship now, fine. If you learn from your mistakes, but like if you really want to settle down, then I probably wouldn't change too much other than sometimes we feel the pressure of dating, so we force a little bit too much, right? Like people always have the question in dating, well, how long should I wait till I sleep with the guy, et cetera, et cetera. Like I'm always like, well, do what you want to do, but do it in that moment in terms of like, if you want to hook up with them, fine. I'm a hard believer in that if a guy really likes having sex with you and really likes you, he will keep wanting to have sex with you. Not everyone wants to keep doing that. Like, are you a movie they want to rewatch? I mean, it's the same for...
And he says that in the nicest, most...
But the women are the same
gentlemanly way.
Sarah, have you had sex with a guy that you thought, that was fine, but like you didn't need to do it again? And I bet, have you had sex with another guy who you thought to yourself, I would like to watch that movie again?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And it's the same way, right? And so, we've had other colors. Sometimes we have a tendency of just don't project or pressure, like kind of own your own decisions. And I think, men and women, confidence really is attractive. So whatever decision you make, own that decision. If you hook up with a guy on a first date or a second date, don't ask him what he thinks or if he's judging you now. You know what I'm saying? Don't I think sometimes that'll happen. But like, do you think I'm a slut? Do you think I'm I don't always do this, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Like, own your own decisions. Be safe. If you want to wait to have sex, don't apologize to him for making him wait. Really be confident in your own decisions and what you want to do. And that will be very attractive. And that will attract, I think, men who are more ready to settle down by when men meet women who are confident what they want, two things are going to happen. Either they will be very attracted to you and then you will attract the right men, or they will just kind of move on because they're probably at that fuckboy stage of their life. Right? Yeah,
I think the more that you have an idea of like what you're looking for, like you're, and we mentioned this with a previous caller is, if you have an idea of like, I'm looking for this X, Y, and Z in a relationship, like just kind of acknowledge that you're looking for it. And then when you meet somebody and they don't add up, but you're like, but it might be a fun time. You at least are like, okay, cool. I'm going into this without the expectation that this is going to turn into a relationship. And I'm totally cool with the consequences, right? It's like, I tell people like, sometimes you just have to make a decision because it seems fun and you want to do that. And the consequences or the aftermath might not be, your ultimate goal, but you at least are going into it mentally knowing that you're unemotionally expecting this to possibly become a relationship. And so, but still have a standard of what you're looking for. Because if you have no idea what you're looking for and like be confident in you, kind of like what Nick said, you're going to feel like everyone you date, you're going to try to figure out how to make it work because you have an idea of what your end goal is, but you're not quite sure of how it's being made up. Does that make sense? Like Have a standard
Yeah.
and be okay if you meet someone and it sounds like you still kind of want to have fun a little bit because you were like, I got real serious about dating in 2019 and it was boring, but
Yeah.
2018 I was having fun and I got to meet all these people. So
It's not music. It's not. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah,
It's not
totally
mutually
not.
exclusive. I think it's just more for you. I guess getting to know you a little bit through this call. Just don't question yourself so much. Like the fact that you are a guy's girl, so to speak, whatever that means. Like that's cool. There's a lot of guys who are attracted to that.
For sure.
As far as being buddies or friends, I mean, I would give this advice to anyone. Don't blur those lines. If you want to be friends with the guy, be his friend. If he's a potential dating candidate, then treat it that way. Don't try to be his friend to be his girlfriend. Don't use, don't think that you're going to somehow, friend zone him first and get him to like you, right? That almost never happens. And sometimes people will do that because it's like, well, I don't know if he likes me, but I know he'll hang out with me and I just want to be around him. So let's just be friends. Make him chase you. If you want to be his girlfriend, then act like a potential dating candidate for him. And don't be like going to lunch and swapping like fantasy football draft pick ideas and things like that.
Yeah, be you, and like if you're into sports, like you truly are like, I like sports. Like you really like it. You don't like it because it's kind of like a cool thing that like guys will be like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I can talk
your
football with her.
intentions. Yeah,
But if you truly love sports, like don't change that.
don't change that. Yeah.
Like I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're talking sports with a guy, he's not all of a sudden gonna be like, oh, I do not find her sexually attractive.
that's never-
Like that's not gonna happen. And at the same time, if a guy sees you as a friend, he's in most cases, and I could be wrong because I'm not a guy, but he's probably not gonna be like, hey, let's go back to your house and like, you know what I mean? So I think you're construing like who you are and what you like and into what you think that their expectation is of you. But be
the
you.
difference there is your intentions. Like I said, like if whether you want to have sex with them or date them or just be his friends, if you like talking sports, do it.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself doing it because you're trying to get him to like you, that's not,
different.
okay.
Like you can know sports and you can talk about it, but you need to be confident in like who you are. That sounds so stupid, but like who you are. And like you show up and like if you love sports, talk sports. And you'll attract a guy who like loves that aspect of you as a partner.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know if you need to change too much, but it seems like, just be a little bit more focused on what you want and clear about your actions when you do it. Don't judge yourself. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I did this and I had some fun. Is that okay? Sure, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't apologize to guys for your actions at all. That's all the women listening. Stop apologizing for things that you're not sorry for. Like, if you hook up with a guy on a one night stand, great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Don't ask him what he thinks about you.
Yeah.
He's not asking you if you think he's a slut.
And like, don't apologize to yourself either. It's like, it's 2020. So you're like, I feel like I need to make this the best thing possible. And if like, for some reason you hook up with a guy and you're like, that is not my dating goal for the year. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Move forward. Right. So it's like, we sometimes, I think, put a lot of weight on, especially beginning of the year, like the resolution and our goals. And like, we have this big weight of the outcome that we kind of sometimes make ourselves suffer through the journey versus being like, everyone you meet or hook up with or don't hook up with are all like, it's all information to help you in your next interaction.
Yeah. I don't know. A vision board, like I just kind of cheesy, but like sometimes maybe just like, if you aren't trying to figure out what you want, because you're just like, oh, how should I assess dating?
Right.
And it doesn't really matter about like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then do the things that you think will get you what you want, and learn. And then sometimes a big part of that is learning how to say no to things.
Yeah. Setting healthy boundaries for yourself and for others. Like, if you're out and about and some guy comes up and he's like, hey, let's go home. And you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm not into this. It's like, then you're totally being like, you know what? Cool. No, thanks, but no thanks.
And you do things for yourself, because doing things for the guy won't get him to like you. Doing things that you want to do usually gets guys to like you.
Heck yeah. I mean, being confident in like who you are and what you want, like, is for sure attractive.
So, all right. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right.
You're
Well,
I
take
think
care.
you hit it on the nail on the head with like the not feeling guilty if it's not going the right way or if it's going in a different direction than I wanted to. I feel like I do put a lot of guilt on myself if like, you know, I want to get something serious or I want someone serious, but I can't have fun. I think you're right. Like trying to find both sides of it and finding a way to put it together is like the challenge I think I'm trying to overcome, because I do feel guilty if it doesn't, you know, go past the one night we hung out or the one night he comes back to my apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes those people are just that. They're there to have fun, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no right or wrong, but I get, don't judge yourself. Whatever, you know, just
stop saying you're sorry to yourself. It sounds like you do more than maybe saying like.
I just get that sense. I don't know why, that you're like having fun and kind of questioning.
You're like, I should be having fun because now I'm not going to have a relationship.
Okay. It's totally fine. You're 28.
Crap, you could be having fun, and the one person you end up having fun with is like, I met my person, right?
Oh.
So it's like sometimes being like putting such a serious nose on dating can make you maybe come off to a different way than who you truly are, right? So
yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
All right. Well, take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think we should send her a not a cool chick mug.
Ooh.
She's a total cool chick.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
She's just, but like, she's probably, she seems cool. She's got a good energy. She's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes once in a while, I feel like she has this anxiety is like the new year of like, am I like too cool? And like,
Right.
And my guess is she has no problem meeting guys. But the guys seem to come and go more often than she wants.
Yeah.
Is my
Well, I get the vibe though that like there's a part of her that doesn't necessarily mind the thrill of dating.
That's what I'm saying.
Her
But then she's judging
expectation-
herself
yeah,
of like,
totally.
oh well, should I
Her
not
expectation
do
of a
this?
relationship makes it like, so she's like the cool person who kind of wants a fun hookup but eventually end up in a relationship. Like that's a hard thing that you're constantly going to apologize
And
for.
I was thinking about this as she was on the phone. Like, do guys ever, Michelle, have you ever had a guy, if you've ever hooked up in the first or second date, go, do you think I'm dirty? Like, have you ever had a guy apologize for like, no, but women do it all the time.
This is what they say. We got physical too fast. Like they sometimes get in their head.
That's a different idea, but they're not asking you to like not judge them about being promiscuous.
Yeah, it's not you being
They
like,
always put it on you. if
Yes,
do
they
feel
just want to
bad.
make sure that like you're okay with this speed. Like,
Yeah.
women, stop asking. You know, it's 2020. Like, no.
Well, see, something I kept running into is guys would be like, "We got physical too fast, and now I don't see you." Like,
well,
in a
that's because they're
relationship way.
afraid that they had sex with you.
Yeah.
And now they're worried that you're going to fall in love.
Yeah, they're
And
worried
so
that you're like
they're-
baking cookies.
They're
at home.
trying to be like, whoa, calm down
Yeah.
here. They're putting it on. Yeah, that's kind of gaslighting in a way.
But like we feel that like we have to wait to have sex or else they won't like us in that way. Do you know what I mean?
We've talked about
I
this
know.
before. I do not believe in that stereotype.
Yeah.
I really truly don't. I'm not saying it is a stereotype, so it's not black and white. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm sure some guys are old fashioned and maybe will judge women if they hook up with they're hypocrites. But I'm a firm believer that there are some people you like having sex with, and some people it's just okay. And sometimes when I equate it to a movie. There's plenty of movies we watch that are like, I'm fine, it was good, I enjoyed my an hour and a half of watching it, but I don't really need to see it again. And there's other movies we come back and we binge over and over the song, and it's just like sex. And so, if you want to wait. If you want to hook up. Don't, especially for the women, do not apologize. If a guy hooks up with a girl on the night one or first date, and she's just like very confident about it, I guarantee you he's not gonna think he's just gonna be attracted that you kind of left, or just like owned it, or just were very confident about it, and made him wonder if you were gonna call him back.
Yeah.
Flip the script.
Well, and she kept saying like, I feel guilty, like I'm doing these things, I feel guilty. So I think there's more to like, she hasn't established necessarily what she really would want in dating. Like, what do you want?
But like you said it, like you said, she's a guy's girl or girl's guy, whatever. And that's great. But she's, as a woman, I guess she's then judging herself, but like, wow, am I okay to do this? Because guys are doing the same thing she's doing. not questioning it at all.
Not
Just having
for a
a
second.
blast.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
28.
right.
They're literally saying, I'm trying to fuck as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to settle
Well,
down.
even when she's
living this wonderful life and constantly being like, well, is this okay if I'm doing this?
Well,
Like,
that's what she said. She talked about, like, she went back to 2018. She's like, 2018.
I know.
I was traveling
Yeah,
out.
where-
being
why are
all
we in
teen, and all that.
2018?
And she's
That
like,
is
and then
the-
2019, I got real serious and it was really boring. And I was like, okay, well, if that's truly how you feel, right?
Yeah.
Forget the expectation that you need to settle down with somebody, because you're going to end up finding someone that you really, if you are doing something because of a social expectation or a social norm,
Yeah.
like, it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy having fun and know that having fun doesn't mean that it will stop you from finding someone, right? I think that there's this, like, you have to be either serious about dating or casual.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know a lot of people that casually date and found their person casually dating because there wasn't the pressure of looking for a relationship.
But would you two agree that's more of an issue for women than men? Because men
For
judge
sure.
themselves a lot less when they're just
Yeah.
like, men give themselves way more permission just to fuck around and have fun.
Yeah.
And women feel like they have to choose between being serious or being considered slutty.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's probably that
Um,
expectation.
Yeah, like a label you put on yourself.
Yeah. And again, listen, women still are unfairly judged, but sometimes judging yourself only makes it worse. And I think if you don't, it'll help yourself out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those were great questions. And do we have a theme? I don't know. They were pretty across the board. I like the age variations. We had a lot of good segments.
It seemed, though, the continuing theme is like everyone's kind of everyone, and maybe this is just people in general, but looking for the person outside of them to, like, give them their answer. Like, we had the chick who was, like, kind of waiting for her boyfriend to change or do something or give her some signal to be okay to, like, move forward and, like, break up with him. And then you have two other women who are like, what's wrong with me? Like, how do I look? What am I doing wrong that these guys are saying it? It's like, man, you guys, sometimes you just have to, like, be confident in you, right? And then stop looking for answers outside of yourself.
Yeah.
That's so hard.
So hard.
Rochelle's like, yeah.
I'm saying, I mean, that's like, I'm saying that and being like, and I still do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
all the
We all
time.
do that.
Yeah. Looking for affirmation or validation outside of yourself.
Or permission.
Or acceptance, apologizing. I think sometimes,
The apologizing for sure.
yeah, apologizing to others and
For
feeling
things that
bad
you
about
did-
you did.
That you're not sorry for,
Yeah.
or no one's asking you to apologize.
Yeah. I think just having some sense of self-awareness and self-discernment, and not expecting somebody else to make you feel okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. It's been another great episode. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K. If you are looking for some health and wellness tips and advice and maybe a little bit more one-on-one work with a holistic nutritionist, check out mariaviall.com. She's been helping a bunch of people all over the country. And always check out Natural Habits on Instagram for some of our health and wellness tips that Maria gives that aren't just essential oil based, but little tips and tricks for just general healthy habits and healthy living. Again, thanks for listening. As always, guys, we will see you on Tuesday for a Bachelor recap.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday for a wonderful interview with my dear friend, Tanya Rad. Until next time, bye-bye.